I just believe that if you put your mind to it and you kind of have a tunnel vision on the language, you'll be able to get it, period. Okay, before I begin to list, actually, it's very impolite for me not to greet you guys. If you're new to this channel, thank you very much for stopping by. If you're an old-time OG, thank you for keeping me in the game. What we're going to be discussing today are apps or resources that I use to learn German. So I've been living here in Germany for about 5 years. This is my 5th year in Germany. So currently, I would say my German level is a shaky B1. I say shaky because I wrote the B1 exam, the language test from Goethe Institute. The test is in 4 sections. So you have the reading, the writing, the speaking, and the hearing. And that's the listening exam. And so far I passed 3 of them, and then I failed the reading test. That is why it's shaky, because naturally, you know, I should be able to have a good comprehension of the language. However, the reading, and I would say generally, it's not just about the exam. Even when I see German, articles, when I see German newspapers, news, all these things that require me to read, even when I receive like mails in German, the first instinct is to translate, which is not very helpful. And that's what we're talking about in this video. So, because as I'm talking to you guys, I'm talking to myself too. Because the goal at the end of the year is to have a good mastery of the language. That being said, I know that we also have people that, that say, okay, they're affiliated to languages and those that are not. I personally think that I am not very good with languages. And I'll tell you why. I think I'm average. Before I came to Germany, I was living in China, and I know how to speak Mandarin. Now, while I was learning Mandarin, I had people in my class that were so fluent. They're picking up this language so fast. In fact, I have a friend, she studied French as her bachelor's, like in her bachelor's, and she came out with a 1st class in French. Can you? Exactly. And then she moved on to study Chinese in her master's, and she has, like, what's the word? She's currently doing a PhD in Chinese, just to tell you the extent of the lady's brain. By the way, speaking of the lady, she's currently running a language school in Nigeria. The language school is called Be Fluent. If you are willing, or if you want to learn any languages, I think the language she currently has is German, French, Chinese, I think Spanish. I'm not completely sure, but I'm going to put her page, her link in this video in the description box as well. So if you want to check her out, please reach out to her. Tell her that you're from Ada, so she can give you a nice discount. Her name is Chinelo. We've been friends for a very long time, and I'll also tell you how her school also helped me out when in fact, one main thing I'm going to tell you how. Actually, when I was preparing for my German B1 exam, the reason I wanted to write the German B1 exam was because I needed to use the certificate for my PR application. So I reached out to her, and then she assigned one of her teachers to me, so a German teacher, and she was having like a one-on-one class, a one-on-one session with me. So I was paying in Naira, and then we'll have classes online. So it was very flexible. The lady that, was paired with me, I really liked her. She was really good in German. She like kind of broke the whole thing down for me a little bit. And I personally believe that if you want to learn a language, it's better. This is what I personally think. While you want to practice how to speak the language with native speakers, it's better to learn the grammar with non-native speakers that have learned the language. It's even better if they are non-native speakers from your country or from your tribe, because that way there are different words that you're used to, or both of you are used to, that they will use to explain the language or the grammar better to you. So as I was saying, I don't consider myself a fluent or someone that has language grace. I think I put in a lot of work to learn a language. The reason it was comparatively easier for me to pick up Chinese was because everything I was doing was in Chinese. I did a little bit of Chinese in Nigeria before I got a scholarship to travel to China for it, and then my classes were in Chinese, everything, my assignments, everything in Chinese. So when I'm talking to people, the only time I was speaking Igbo or English was when I was talking to fellow Nigerians like myself. And so it was easier for me to pick up Chinese language. I wrote my thesis, my master thesis in Chinese, just to give you like an idea. However, since I moved to Germany, when I was learning Chinese in Nigeria, I did a little bit of German. So it wasn't as if German language was new to me in Germany, but I had a lot of knowledge gaps, you get, because you learn language for a while, you stop, you come back to it again, you stop, and then you keep skipping classes, just trying to, after all, I know how to do this, I know how to do that, and you end up losing a lot. Do you get? I had a lot of language gaps. However, I tried to speak a little bit. So I started with A2 again. I think I redid A2 or A1.2. By now I didn't start from the very, very beginning because I did a little bit of it in Nigeria. I did up to B1 in Nigeria, then I stopped. And it took a while because I was in China at the time. And when I came back here, I started learning German again. And so far, I would say that I can have a conversation on a very basic, simple, degree, better than most people, if I do say so myself. I can listen. I think my listening is so much better. Like I listen to podcasts in German, and I'm going to put you on some of those podcasts in this video. The only thing that I'm not very, very good at is reading and writing. I think my reading has a lot of, I need to improve very well in my reading and my writing. And of course, the speaking. I think my speaking can go better because some days I'm like fluent in the language, some days I'm like blank completely. But I want to get to a point where I am completely fluent. So no matter what situation I find myself, I can still open my mouth and speak German fluently. Now, knowing that as the background, the point is, like if you're wanting to learn the language or if you want to learn the language, you don't say, oh, or kind of dismiss yourself simply because you don't have the grace to learn the language. Anybody can learn the language. That's my point. I just believe that if you put your mind to it and you kind of have a tunnel vision on the language, you'll be able to get it, period. One of the tools I use to learn languages, of course, as I said, I listen to a lot of podcasts in German. Some of them, I find them easier and more to my language level. They're easier for me to grasp, or easier for me to understand. One of the podcasts that I listen to is Easy German. You probably have, because they're very famous here, you probably have seen them, probably have watched a couple of their videos on IG, but I listen to their podcast. So whenever I'm on the road or maybe I'm even in the gym, I can just put, my earpiece on and I listen to Easy German. They talk about different topics, basically. And I like that when there are new words that they think their listeners might not be conversant with, they kind of give explanation. And they also have like the paid subscription part where you kind of get more words and their meanings and stuff like that. But I think one of the best ways is just to expose yourself to the language as much as possible. You'll be able to grab, well, as you can see, my hearing is so much better. The second podcast I like to listen to is called Aha History. So Aha History is a German podcast where they talk about, of course, from the name, historical events, news as well in German. It's a bit complex because I know that some of the times when I listen to it, I don't get the full gist of what they're trying to say. However, I pick a few words and I pick a few phrases that I try to repeat in my everyday conversation with people or like German speakers so that I can master it more. So what I think is, while you expose yourself to like easier levels of German, you should also try to expose yourself to things that are a little bit higher, not too complex. If it's too complex, it becomes a problem for you, but just a little bit higher. And that's why I go for Aha History. Another German podcast I listen to is Coffee Break German. Now, Coffee Break German, they have different levels. They discuss mostly grammar, in my experience, like from what I've seen so far when I listen to their podcast sometimes. And so you can use it to learn a little bit of, some grammars that you probably did not pick up in class, or maybe they just give you a different perspective to understanding some of the grammars, right? And the good thing too is that I think they have up to A1. It's not like a regular podcast, it's like a language podcast, do you get? So they try to break it down into A1, A2, B1, B2, and so on and so forth. So these are the podcasts that I listen to when I want to kind of practice my listening or just practice German language in general. Now, moving on to some YouTube channels that I like to watch whenever I want to, pick up a few German terms or German phrases. The first one is Learn German with Herr Antrim. I love the way he breaks this language down. First off, he's also very, I don't want to use the word funny, but he tries to add a little bit of comedy or like comic relief to some of his videos. Some of them you might not find funny, but for me, I find them very cute. I also like the kind of examples he uses in his explanation. I watched his videos a lot when I was practicing for my B1. He broke those grammars down like bam, bam, bam. So I really like to listen or watch his videos. So you should check him out on YouTube. He has a lot of videos for different language levels. Another one is Deutsch lernen durch Hören. What this translates as is learning Deutsch via hearing, like via listening. this channel, they read German stories. They also have like the script so you can read through. And it really, really helps to practice your listening and your reading as well. Because by the time you're reading through what they are playing or what you're listening to, you would be able to know, okay, this is how this word is pronounced. This is the context when it is used, and so on and so forth. The German levels too are also somewhat, in my opinion, simple. They're not as simple, not like the A1 kind of simple, but like simple up onto conversational level German simple. So you can watch some of their videos and try to follow whatever the comprehension is about. If possible, write down some of the phrases and try to repeat, some of them when you're having your conversations in German. Another one too that I watch is DW. So I would explain a little bit. So the DAW, they have like an app. The one I'm talking about now is they make movies sort of on YouTube that incorporate certain German language level words. So if you're in A1, you have like A1 level German, they have a movie that they use different A1 level words to create or kind of to make. If you watch it, you would get to know some words that are there. You get to follow. It's like an entertainment kind of learning, but via a video and specifically for different levels of German language. For me, I watched it, but for the B1 level, they kind of use words based on context. So even if you don't understand the word itself, via the context, you have an understanding of what the word is trying to mean. Like what the word might mean. I think it's a program by DW. I'm not completely sure, but I think it's a program by DW. Now, speaking of DW, I'm going to talk about this app by DW. DW means Deutsche Welle, an app by them that is specially created for German language learners. They read the news and also give you different questions that you have to answer based off of the news you just listened to. I think it's a very great way of learning the language because they practice the various language models apart from speaking, because you might not be able to speak. But you learn, you listen, and you also write, and you also comprehend. So it's really, really nice. I mean, a lot of people use Duolingo, but in my own personal experience, I find Duolingo great for beginners, those that have no idea of German language. However, if you want to grow or you want to improve your German language level, you need to leave Duolingo or incorporate Duolingo with an additional app. And another thing to with Duolingo, because of these streaks, kind of get more addicted to these streaks than addicted to the knowledge you're trying to learn out of it. And for me, I went on Duolingo when I wanted to, still when I was preparing for the B1, I was like, okay, let me practice some phrases and stuff. But I felt like the phrases were too simple. I wanted something a bit more challenging. So yeah. And speaking of apps that you can use to pair that are a bit more challenging than Duolingo, we have LingQ. LingQ is so good. It's so good. With LingQ, you're given different passages depending on your interest. The last time I was on LingQ, right now I don't have my subscription to LingQ anymore, but last time I was on LingQ, they were giving different passages depending on what you want. So if you want like science related topics, or you want like history related topics, or you want like normal everyday life related topics, you can choose that based also off your skill, like your language level. Complexity of those passages are based off your language level. And then when you choose any of it and you're reading through, if there are words that they think you might not know, they give you the meanings to those words. And it's also good for practicing your listening, as I said, and comprehension. So you don't have to have access to all of these apps. You just need to have like a few of them. You heard when I said when I had my access to LingQ. I don't use LingQ anymore. However, I listen to a lot of podcasts because I'm always on the go, and I like to learn when I'm on the go, you get. So if I'm not listening to like a normal podcast, I'm listening to a German podcast. You don't have to have all of these things so that you don't overwhelm yourself. I think at the end of the day, the key is, first off, to expose yourself to the language as much as possible. Secondly, when you receive documents, when you receive things, or or somebody is trying to speak to you in German, don't shy away from speaking the language. Don't shy away from reading those things in German. Let your first instinct be to try. And then if it's too complex or if it's too complicated, you can then translate, or you tell the person to speak to you in English. But just give yourself the grace to try first, and then when you're listening or when you're reading or you're getting exposed to some of these languages, you should also try as much as possible to pick up a few words or a few phrases, and those words and phrases, use them again in an everyday normal conversation so that it sticks to your head. These are some of the tips that you can practice or you can use to kind of practice your German or kind of improve your German. Something else too is Netflix. When you're watching movies, if you can, try as much as possible to listen to or maybe watch the movie in German language and also have the subtitle in German. Depending on your level of the language, your level of understanding of the movie would be very vague. However, it's a movie. You can kind of add 2 and 2 together from the scenes. But the reason why I prefer having the subtitle also in German is that when you're reading the word. If it's in English and you're listening in German, I don't know for some people, but for me, subconsciously, my ear would just go off and then I just read like the subtitle on the screen. So I don't listen to what is being said in German. I don't pick up any of the phrases. I don't learn anything. Basically, I just suffer myself to read through But if the subtitle is also in German and as I'm reading through, I kind of make a mental match. Okay, this word is what I'm talking about and this is how it is pronounced and so on and so forth. So these are some of my few tips when it comes to learning German. As I said, I'm trying. I'm still a work in progress, but I hope we can all get to a level where we can be comfortable speaking German and we can practice, German with one another. I don't want to make any promises. Or maybe in the future, I can make a video speaking just German and you can all understand me. Anyways, I hope you find this video helpful. If you did find this video helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. When you give this video a thumbs up, it helps the YouTube algorithm push this video to more people that might find the video interesting as well. So please give it a thumbs up. If you like my channel and you want to join the Other Space family, feel free to subscribe. But what is more important to me actually is that you like the video. And it's very easy. You just have to click it and that's it. Very easy. Support me so that I can meet other people and so that my video can reach other people and can also help other people and my channel can grow too. So yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I would see you in my next video, hopefully. Bye.